green, regenerative, climate neutral, net zero. With each passing day, ever more companies are making pledges to deliver social or environmental sustainability. It remains rare, however, to hear a company commit to justice. And yet, that's just what Timberland did more than 20 years ago. According to its third-generation CEO, Jeff Swartz, the company's mission was to deliver equal parts commerce and justice. For those unaware, Timberland is a New Hampshire-based, outdoor-inspired, product-obsessed footwear and apparel maker. I served as the company for 15 years, the last 7 as Jeff's partner and the company's chief operating officer. For Timberland, justice was comprised of 3 elements: global human rights, citizen service, and environmental stewardship. Among other things, Timberland powered its factories using renewable energy, planted millions of trees, paid for employees to spend a week per year doing community service, and was the first public company to issue quarterly CSR reports. The brand also advanced transparency. One day, as if playing corporate show and tell, Jeff brought a bottle of Russian salad dressing to a meeting. He pointed to the nutrition label on the back and challenged the team to create a similar label detailing each product's environmental footprint. Not long thereafter, all 30 million pairs of Timberland shoeboxes were adorned with the nutrition label. And yet, back then, Timberland's investors seemed unmoved. Every 90 days, Jeff devoted fully 1/3 of his quarterly earnings remarks to highlight the company's justice agenda. Over the course of 28 calls that I attended, never once did he receive a question about that portion of his remarks. Perhaps it was that Timberland was just too early. Indications are that investors are now turning their attention to planetary welfare. Consider the following example. On April 8, 2021, BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, introduced an exchange-traded fund called the U.S. Carbon Readiness Transition Fund. On its first day, the fund raised a record $1.25 billion, making it the biggest launch in the ETF industry's 30-year history. Even better, the fund was part of a snowballing trend towards ESG, or environmental, social, and governance investing. According to industry sources, by the end of 2021, ESG investing had grown to over $35 trillion. Said differently, 1 in every 3 professionally managed dollars was invested in ESG assets. This monumental shift in investment flows seemed hopeful, and not a moment too soon. You see, hours earlier, on that very same day of April 8, 2021, atop the world's largest active volcano at Mauna Loa in Hawaii, scientists woke to a reading of 416 parts per million of CO2 in the atmosphere, more than 25% higher than the first reading of 310 parts per million, which was taken when the observatory first opened in 1958. These increases in carbon levels in the atmosphere have already caused global temperatures to increase by more than 1 degree Celsius, with the current best IPCC forecast pointing to increases of another 1.5 degrees Celsius prior to the end of this century. Let's turn back to the U.S. Carbon Readiness Transition Fund to see how much ESG investing might address climate change. Based on the fund name, a retail investor concerned about the future of the planet might expect the fund to be comprised of shares of companies that make solar panels, EV charging networks, or storage devices. Instead, as you can see, the fund's largest holdings are Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Alphabet. Tesla is also a holding, but so too are Exxon and Chevron. You see, like the sustainability reports on which these funds are based, ESG funds are mostly unregulated. Different than you might think, ESG funds are comprised of stocks of companies that are rated as well equipped to cope with environmental, social, or governance risks, not companies that are committed to improving planetary welfare. Unfortunately, the trillions of dollars that investing firms self-report as ESG assets are not the same trillions that are needed to accelerate a transition to a future that keeps global warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius. Estimates are that humanity is currently only investing about 1/4 of the trillions of dollars needed to make the transition to a carbon-free future. Oh, and what became of Timberland's nutrition labels? Well, they were removed after Timberland was sold to a larger company. What does this all say? To me, it highlights the limits of our current market-based system. Over the past half-century, many economists, academics, and politicians have bet that measurement and reporting, certification, and win-win solutions would lead companies to create shared value for investors and the planet. Most in this group have recoiled against the idea of any limits to growth. The public and the media have been hoodwinked into believing that case studies are valid substitutes for empirical results. This is not to say that most investors, consumers, or executives are bad people. Rather, it's to say that the structure and incentives of our current market system don't work to protect our kids and grandkids. To repair the damage that we've done to our climate, water supplies, and biodiversity, we need system change. So what can you do to help deliver a sustainable future? First, consume less. Sustainable products aren't sustainable. They're typically only a bit less unsustainable. Invest in impact funds, not ESG funds. These are funds that do focus on delivering planetary welfare. And most importantly, vote for leaders who are committed to new priorities and new rules to safeguard our collective future and deliver social justice. Capitalism can deliver lots of good, but what's desperately needed is a new balanced form of capitalism that values the planet as much as it values profit. Thank you.